They are the Emperor's most beautiful sons. Warriors who paint their armor crimson red. Angels who fall from the sky to save humanity. But inside every blood angel lives a monster. A beast that thirsts for blood. A rage that cannot be controlled. And when that monster awakens, even their brothers must look away in horror. This is the story of how the noblest warriors in the galaxy became cursed. How angels learned to live with demons inside their souls. This is the tragedy of the Blood Angels. Let me take you back 10,000 years. Back to a time when the Emperor of Mankind still walked among his people. Back to the Golden Age before everything fell apart. The Emperor created 20 sons. 20 primarchs. Each one was a genetic masterpiece. A demigod designed to lead humanity's armies across the stars. Each primarch would father a legion of space marines. Warriors made from their gene seed. Soldiers who would conquer the galaxy in the Emperor's name. One of these primarchs was named Sanguinius. And he was special. Even among demigods, he stood apart. Sanguinius was perfect. Not just strong or smart. He was beautiful. So beautiful that humans who looked upon him wept without knowing why. His face was carved like ancient statues. His voice was like music. And from his back grew wings. Massive white wings that spread 12 feet on each side. Wings that should not exist. Wings that made him look like the angels from old Earth legends. But before Sanguinius could meet his father, something terrible happened. The Emperor's enemies scattered the infant primarchs across the galaxy. They hurled them through space and time. They wanted to destroy the Emperor's plans before they could begin. Sanguinius fell to a world called Baal. A radioactive wasteland. A planet where humanity had been reduced to savage tribes fighting over scraps of food and water. The radiation had twisted everything. The people. The creatures. Even the land itself. The infant primarch crashed in the desert wastes. He should have died. Any normal child would have perished in minutes. But Sanguinius was no normal child. He was found by a tribe called the Blood. Desperate survivors who drank the blood of the creatures they killed. Who had learned to survive in a place where nothing should live. These people saw the winged baby. They saw his mutations. On Baal, mutations meant death. Mutants were cast out to die in the wastes. The tribe's elders argued. Some wanted to kill the strange child. Others saw something different in his eyes. Something pure despite his wings. They chose mercy. They raised him as their own. Sanguinius grew quickly. By age 5, he was as large as a grown man. By age 10, he was leading hunting parties into the radiation wastes. By age 15, he had united all the tribes of Baal under one banner. He taught them to be more than survivors. He showed them they could be noble. That they could build instead of just taking. That they could be better than the hell world that had birthed them. The people of Baal looked at this winged warrior and saw hope for the first time in generations. They called him Angel. They followed him not because they feared him, but because they loved him. Then the Emperor came. When the Emperor's fleet arrived in orbit above Baal, Sanguinius knew immediately who had come. Some instinct deeper than memory told him. This was his father. His creator. The man he had been designed to serve. The meeting between the Emperor and Sanguinius was not recorded in detail. We only know that when the Emperor saw his son's wings, he did not command them removed. He did not see them as mutations. He saw them as perfection. As if Sanguinius had become even more than the Emperor had designed. The Emperor gave Sanguinius command of the 9th Legion. Thousands of space marines who had been created from Sanguinius's gene seed while he had been lost. These warriors had been fighting without their father. Now they would finally meet the primarch they had been made to serve. But something was wrong with the 9th Legion. Something dark. These space marines were savage. More brutal than they should be. They killed with a fury that went beyond tactics or strategy. In battle, they entered a state of pure rage. A bloodlust that made them forget everything except killing. They tore enemies apart with their bare hands. They howled like animals. They covered themselves in the blood of those they slaughtered. Other legions whispered about them, called them the Eaters of the Dead. The Revenant Legion. Monsters wearing the armor of the Emperor's finest. When Sanguinius met his sons for the first time, he saw the beast inside them. And he recognized it. Because he felt the same thing inside himself. The same rage. The same thirst. The same darkness that threatened to consume everything he was. But Sanguinius was determined to save his sons. He taught them to control the rage. To channel it. To be more than the monsters their gene seed made them. He showed them art and culture. He made them study poetry and painting. He taught them that a warrior could be brutal in battle and gentle in peace. That strength and beauty were not enemies. Slowly, the Ninth Legion changed. They began to cover their armor in artwork. They created companies devoted to different aspects of Baal's culture. They learned to fight with grace and precision instead of just savage fury. They became known not as monsters, but as the Blood Angels. The Emperor's most noble sons. And for a time, it worked. For a time, they were perfect. Sanguinius led his Blood Angels across the galaxy. They fought in the Great Crusade. They brought world after world into the Imperium. Wherever they went, people spoke of the Angel and his Crimson Warriors. They told stories of space marines who saved civilians instead of just killing enemies. Who rebuilt cities instead of just conquering them. Who showed mercy when they could. The Blood Angels became legends. Heroes in an age of conquest. But the rage never went away. It just hid deeper. There was something broken in the Blood Angels' gene seed. A defect that Sanguinius tried to hide. A darkness that even his nobility could not remove. Sometimes, without warning, a Blood Angel would fall. His eyes would turn red. His teeth would grow sharp. His mind would fill with an impossible thirst. He would need blood. Human blood. And he would kill anyone to get it. When this happened, the Blood Angel became something else. Something that was no longer human. No longer even a space marine. He became a monster that killed and drank until nothing remained of the warrior he had been. Sanguinius called it the Red Thirst. And he hid it from the Emperor. He hid it because he knew what would happen if the Emperor discovered the flaw. The Blood Angels would be declared corrupted. They would be destroyed. Every warrior. Every successor chapter. Everything Sanguinius had built would be erased from history. So Sanguinius kept the secret. He created special chambers deep in his flagship. Places where Blood Angels who fell to the Red Thirst could be contained. He told his captains to hide any sign of the flaw. To kill their fallen brothers before anyone outside the Legion could see what they had become. And it worked. For decades, the secret held. But secrets in the Warhammer universe never stay hidden forever. As the Great Crusade continued, the Red Thirst grew worse. More Blood Angels fell to it. More warriors had to be locked away or quietly killed. Sanguinius spent every moment searching for a cure. He consulted with the Emperor's geneticists. He studied ancient texts from old Earth. He even prayed, though he knew the Emperor did not believe in gods. Nothing worked. The flaw was part of what they were. Built into their very genetics. There was no cure. Only control. Only the hope that they could stay human long enough to die with honor. Then came the Siege of Terra. The moment everything changed. The galaxy burned. The Emperor's most trusted son, War Master Horus, had betrayed him. Half the Space Marine legions turned traitor. Brother fought brother. The Great Crusade became the Horus Heresy. Everything the Emperor had built collapsed into civil war. The traitors marched on Earth itself. On Terra. On the Emperor's palace. They brought armies beyond counting. Demons from the warp. Corrupted space marines. Twisted war machines. They came to destroy everything humanity had achieved. And Sanguinius stood in their way. The Blood Angels were among the last loyalist legions to reach Terra. They fought through the traitor blockade. They crashed through the defenses. They landed on the palace walls just as the enemy was about to break through. For 55 days, the Blood Angels held the ultimate gate. The gateway to the Emperor's throne room. Wave after wave of traitors threw themselves at that gate. Demons that should not exist in reality. World Eaters who had given themselves completely to rage. Death Guard who spread plague with every step. The Blood Angels stood against them all. Sanguinius fought like no one had ever seen before. He was everywhere at once. His wings carried him across the battlefield. His sword cut through armor like paper. His presence inspired his sons to impossible feats. Where the Blood Angels fought, the traitors died. But they were losing. Too many enemies. Too little time. The gate would fall. The Emperor would die. Everything would end. Then Sanguinius felt something call to him. A psychic beacon. Horus himself, on his flagship in orbit above Terra. The War Master was challenging him. Calling him to single combat. Sanguinius knew it was a trap. He knew Horus had become something more than a Primarch. The Chaos Gods had blessed him with terrible power. Horus could bend reality itself. He could kill with a thought. But Sanguinius went anyway. Because he was the only one who could buy time. Because he was the only one who might possibly stand against the War Master for even a few moments. Because he was willing to die if it meant the Emperor might survive. Sanguinius teleported aboard Horus's flagship. The corridors were twisted. Wrong. The ship had become a living thing. Flesh and metal merged together. The Chaos Gods had turned it into part of their realm. He found Horus in the central chamber. His brother. His friend. The warrior he had fought beside for decades. But Horus was gone. What remained was a puppet of dark gods. A being of pure corruption wearing Horus's face. They talked first. Horus tried to convince Sanguinius to join him. He promised power. Freedom from the Emperor's rules. A place at his side when the new order was established. Sanguinius refused. Because despite everything, despite the darkness inside him, despite the curse in his blood, Sanguinius was loyal. He was noble. He was what all Space Marines aspired to be. So they fought. The battle between Sanguinius and Horus lasted seconds. Or hours. Or days. Time did not work properly in that chamber. The warp had bled through. Reality was just a suggestion. Sanguinius was the greatest warrior among the Primarchs. Fast as thought. Strong as a demigod should be. His sword had killed demons. His wings made him impossible to predict. But Horus had the power of all four Chaos Gods behind him. He was no longer bound by physical law. He could not be beaten by skill or strength alone. They fought anyway. Sword met claw. Wings battered against corrupted armor. Blood spilled. Both of them bled. Both of them wounded. For a moment, just a moment, Sanguinius saw an opening. A chance to end it. He dove forward. His sword aimed at Horus's heart. But Horus was faster. His claw caught Sanguinius by the throat. Lifted him. Held him struggling in the air. And Horus spoke. His voice was not his own. It was the voice of gods who fed on suffering. You could have been greater than this, brother. You could have embraced your curse. Drunk deep of the blood. Become the monster you were always meant to be. Sanguinius met his brother's eyes. Even dying, even with his neck being crushed, he spoke clearly. I am already damned, Horus. But I will die as a man, not as a monster. Horus's claw tightened. Sanguinius's neck broke with a sound like branches snapping. The angel's body went limp. His wings folded. His sword fell from his fingers. The greatest of the Emperor's sons died in his brother's grip. Not in glorious battle. Not surrounded by his army. Alone. In darkness. Far from the world he had saved so many times. But his death bought time. Seconds later, the Emperor arrived. He saw his son's body. He saw what Horus had become. And for the first time in his long existence, the Emperor allowed himself to feel rage. What followed was a battle that nearly destroyed Terra. The Emperor fought Horus with all his power. He cast down the War Master. But the victory cost everything. The Emperor was mortally wounded. He would have to be placed on the Golden Throne, trapped in eternal suffering to keep humanity alive. And Sanguinius was dead. When the Blood Angels learned of their father's death, something broke inside them. All of them. Every single Blood Angel across the entire galaxy felt Sanguinius die. They felt his neck snap. They felt his last breath leave his body. They experienced his final moments of pain and defiance. This should not have been possible. The Primarchs were not connected to their sons this way. Gene Seed did not create that kind of psychic bond. But it did for the Blood Angels. In that moment, a new curse was born. Something worse than the Red Thirst. Something that would haunt the Blood Angels for the next 10,000 years. They called it the Black Rage. Blood Angels who fell to the Black Rage did not just thirst for blood. They relived Sanguinius's final battle. They thought they were their father. They spoke with his voice. They fought enemies that did not exist. They saw Horus in every face. They experienced their Primarch's death over and over and over until it drove them completely insane. And there was no cure. No way to stop it. Once the Black Rage took hold, the Blood Angel was lost forever. At first, it was rare. A few warriors per company. The Blood Angels tried to hide it, just as they had hidden the Red Thirst. They created special units called the Death Company. Blood Angels who had fallen to the Black Rage were given black armor. They were blessed by the chaplains. They were pointed at the enemy and allowed to die in battle. A mercy killing dressed up as honor. But over the centuries, it grew worse. More and more Blood Angels fell to the Black Rage. Sometimes entire squads would succumb at once. Sometimes it would take a warrior the night before a crucial battle. Sometimes it would claim veterans who had served for centuries. There was no pattern. No way to predict who would fall next. Every Blood Angel lived knowing that tomorrow, tonight, even the next minute, they might lose themselves completely. They might become the thing they feared most. A monster wearing their armor. A beast with their face. 10,000 years have passed since Sanguinius died. 10,000 years since the Black Rage was born. The Imperium has changed. The Emperor sits on the Golden Throne, neither alive nor dead. The Space Marine legions have been broken into smaller chapters. The galaxy has grown darker and more terrible. But the Blood Angels endure. They still paint their armor crimson red. They still wear wings on their helmets. They still carry Sanguinius's teachings in their hearts. They are still among the noblest chapters in the Imperium. But they live every day with the knowledge of what they might become. A Blood Angels chapter has special rituals. Before every battle, they gather in the Chapel of the Damned. They look upon the faces of their brothers who have fallen to the Black Rage. They remember what they are fighting to avoid. They drink from the Red Grail, a chalice that contains blood mixed with the chapter's gene seed. The ritual helps them resist the Red Thirst, helps them stay human for one more day. They meditate on art and beauty. They paint and sculpt. They create works of music. Because beauty keeps the beast at bay. Because remembering what is worth protecting helps them resist becoming monsters. But sometimes, despite everything, they fall. When the Black Rage takes a Blood Angel, the change is immediate. His eyes go wild. He starts seeing visions of the siege of Terra. He calls out warnings to brothers who have been dead for 10,000 years. He searches for Horus. He prepares to die defending the ultimate gate. The chaplains come quickly when this happens. They do not judge. They do not condemn. They speak gently to the fallen brother. They remind him he is among family. They help him into the black armor of the Death Company. Because once the black rage takes hold, there is only one ending: death in battle. A final fight against the enemies of the Imperium. A chance to die as a warrior instead of being locked away like a mad beast. The Death Company fights without fear, without strategy, without any thought of survival. They charge straight at the enemy's strongest point. They kill until they are killed. They die as their father died, fighting impossible odds with courage that cannot be broken. Blood Angels chapters try to see honor in this. They tell themselves that brothers in the Death Company die as heroes, that their sacrifice buys victory, that this is a warrior's death. But in truth, it is tragedy. Pure tragedy. Every Blood Angel in the Death Company is a son who will never come home. A brother who will never see another sunrise. A warrior who will never paint another picture or write another poem or teach another scout. The black rage takes their future and gives them only death. Despite the curse, the Blood Angels have produced some of the greatest heroes in Imperial history. Commander Dante is the oldest living space marine. He has served for over 1,500 years. He has led the Blood Angels through countless wars. He has resisted the black rage longer than any other warrior in the chapter's history. When he closes his eyes, he feels Sanguinius's death trying to consume him. But every morning, he opens them again. Still himself. Still serving. Still fighting. Brother Corbulo is the sanguinary high priest. He searches desperately for a cure to the curse. He studies the gene seed. He performs rituals passed down through 10,000 years. He has prolonged the lives of thousands of Blood Angels. He has learned to predict who might fall to the black rage. But he has not found a cure. And every night, he prays to the Emperor for wisdom he knows will not come. Mephiston is perhaps the strangest Blood Angel. He fell to the black rage completely. He was placed in the Death Company. He was sent to die in battle. But somehow, through will or miracle or something else, he fought his way back. He conquered the black rage from inside. He became the only Blood Angel in history to return from that darkness. Now Mephiston serves as the Lord of Death. He is no longer fully human. No longer fully a space marine. Something else. Something changed by his journey through madness. He is more powerful than any librarian. More dangerous than any warrior. But he is also a symbol of hope. Proof that the curse can be beaten. If only anyone could figure out how he did it. These warriors and thousands like them fight every day against their own nature. They serve the Imperium with loyalty beyond question. They save millions of lives. They are heroes in the truest sense. But they are also time bombs. Each one is a disaster waiting to happen. Each one might fall tomorrow. In the current era of Warhammer 40,000, the galaxy is worse than ever before. The Great Rift has torn reality in half. Demons pour through from the warp. Humanity is besieged on all sides. The Imperium is dying slowly. Every day brings new disasters. And the Blood Angels are needed more than ever. They fight on 1,000 worlds. They defend cities against chaos invasions. They hunt aliens that threaten Imperial citizens. They stand against horrors that would break lesser warriors. But the curse grows stronger. More Blood Angels fall to the black rage than ever before. Some chapters have lost half their warriors to it. The Death Company grows larger with every battle. The Blood Angels know time is running out. They know that eventually, the curse will claim them all. That one day, every Blood Angel will fall to the black rage. That their chapter will cease to exist as anything except mad warriors howling for blood. But they do not give up. They do not surrender to despair. Because they are Blood Angels. They are Sanguinius's sons. And if they are going to fall, they will fall fighting. Every blood angel accepts that he is living on borrowed time. That tomorrow might be the day he falls. That this battle might be his last as himself. But today, they are still human. Today, they still serve. Today, they still fight for something larger than themselves. They paint their armor red. They strap on their weapons. They spread their wings. And they go to war. The Blood Angels are the tragedy of Warhammer 40,000. They are noble warriors cursed with savage rage. They are artists forced to live as killers. They are heroes who know they will die as monsters. They fight not because they believe they will win, but because fighting is the only way to stay human for one more day. Every battle they survive is a victory. Every morning they wake up still themselves is a triumph. Sanguinius died 10,000 years ago. But his sons still live with his death every single day. They feel his neck break. They hear his last words. They experience his pain. And yet they endure. That is what makes them angels. Not their nobility. Not their beauty. Not their wings or their art or their poetry. What makes them angels is that they live in hell and refuse to become demons. They know the monster inside them. They feel it growling in their souls. They hear it whispering promises of release, of surrender, of letting go and becoming the beast. But they say no. Every single day. Every single moment. They say no to the darkness. They choose to be human even though it hurts. They choose to be heroes even though they are cursed. The Blood Angels are doomed. Their chapter will fall eventually. The curse will take them all. Every last one will end up in the death company. Howling. Mad. Lost. But not today. Today, they are still angels. Still warriors. Still serving the emperor they have never seen. Still protecting the Imperium that may not deserve their sacrifice. They are the Blood Angels. The cursed sons of a dead Primarch. Warriors who live in the shadow of their father's last moments. And they are beautiful in their tragedy. Because in the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war, the Blood Angels prove that even the damned can be heroes. Even monsters can choose to be men. Even in hell, angels can exist. That is their story. That is their curse. That is their glory. And the Blood Angels fight on.